In other news, the National Prosecuting Authority says it is in possession of a second confession made by the man who admitted to causing the Usindiso building fire in Johannesburg, which killed 76 people.
29-year-old Sithembiso Lawrence Mdlalose has appeared in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court, facing charges of arson, murder and attempted murder in connection with the deadly Marshalltown fire in August.
Alleged Usindiso building arsonist Sithembiso Lawrence Mdlalose made a brief appearance at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court this morning. He is facing 76 charges of murder, 86 of attempted murder, and a charge of arson. Mdlalose was arrested on Tuesday after he confessed to setting the building on fire last August. The 29-year-old appeared at Court 12, where he was formally charged. This after he confessed to murdering a man and setting him alight on 31st August 2023. Mdlalose was one of the witnesses in the inquiry into the Usindiso building fire and gave testimony in camera. The matter was postponed to the 1st of February to allow for the profiling and verification of the accused to be concluded.
The evidence that is laid before the commission may not necessarily be used in a subsequent trial. So as the state, we cannot rely on such evidence, hence the need to conduct our own investigation and build our own case that meets the requirement in terms of criminal law. Unfortunately, we cannot disclose all of the evidential material at our disposal at this point, but it was of importance for us to confirm that we do have a confession that meets the requirements in terms of the criminal law. So with the investigations that is ongoing, we obviously cannot divulge such information as the state. Most of that information will be presented in court when the right time comes.
I've just received a copy of the so-called confession from my client. It is said that this confession was made before a particular magistrate. I need to consult with him based on that, but it's obviously on record already that he's made some admissions on this matter, so we need to consult in that regard with him.
Well, our SABC News reporter Hasina Gori has been following the story and joins us now. Hasina, good evening. So quite an interesting turn of events. This person was on a witness list, comes to the commission and suddenly has a crisis of conscience and tells all.
So that's what we've heard, firstly that fire inquiry established just following the fire in August had its own delays. We've seen it first for a venue confirmation, then for one of the commissioners to be recused because of alleged biasness. That happened. Then this year we came in with the commission restarting, and early this week in-camera interview with one of the witnesses coming in, and from what we're gathering from the people that we're speaking to, very off the record, speaking to us, telling us that this 29-year-old gentleman claims that he was high on substances that night, that he was allegedly told to kill the specific person by alleged drug lords, that he strangled the person and then tried to, dispose of the body, getting fuel and then setting that person alight, and that he had a crisis of conscience when he realized his actions. He said he only realized it when he saw people jumping from the building and he realized the repercussions of what he had done, and he'd been, praying to God. It's alleged that he broke down quite extensively to the commission. So that's what we saw happening. That happened allegedly on Monday. On Tuesday, the commission then sat and deliberated on whether or not the evidence that's been given in front of the commission can be admissible in court or inadmissible. They ruled that it was inadmissible, cannot be used in investigations per se. We saw an arrest happening on Tuesday evening, and then we believe that a second confession was given in front of a magistrate now on Wednesday by the accused.
So his explanation, though, and we'll come back to the legal matters in just a moment, because it's quite important, the sequence of events and the fact that he confessed in front of a magistrate and the position of the NPA now in terms of their own investigations and what the defense lawyer is saying. But it appears that his description of how the events unfolded corroborated the experience of the eyewitnesses and those who were in the building.
When we arrived at the scene on that morning, many people that we've spoken to, and subsequent throughout right till, just speaking to people at the Denver temporary camp, they described that it felt like it was arson, that it was deliberate. Many described almost a ball of fire or what they thought was a petrol bomb, just from their experience of what they saw happen. One of the victims that I'd spoken to owned a kitchen that was on that ground floor level, very close to where the fire started, and he said that it was almost like a burst of flames. Many people had, alluded to that, not wanting to give many, details, but corroborating that it seemed like it was a petrol bomb that had taken place that evening, and that's what started the fire.
But in respect of confessions and just the sequence of events in this story, some issues that might come back to haunt this investigation is around his confession. Was he warned of his rights to not self-incriminate? You shared with us that he appeared before the magistrate as per the NPA as well and gave that confession a second time. But there's some legal potential here for things to go awry.
The defense lawyer did say that it's quite, sad that he already had given the confession before he had consulted with his lawyer at that point. So the only consultations have happened post his arrest, post him giving a confession, that they would now work with the NPA with regards to this investigation. We've seen in some cases where trial within a trial takes place to find out whether or not he was given his right, whether it was given voluntarily, did he understand fully and wholly. That's something we would have to wait and see, not necessarily during the bail application process, but once we get into a trial, whether or not, and we've seen it in various different cases, high profile cases where that becomes a contention of whether or not also his mental state, given that he says he was on substance that night, might
well, that's
also
where
come.
I wanted to go next, right? And this was a massive fire. Our attention was impaled for the duration of it. So many lives lost. There was so much grieving around this. And when you consider what he apparently told the commission around being in an impaired state of mind, was there any word, any discussion around a psychiatric evaluation at this point?
I think that this would happen when we go into the case more, not necessarily in bail application unless the defense does bring that up, but usually again trial, within trials, looking at a psychiatric state, and just you saying this gripped us, not just South Africa but globally, but also the families of the victims who've lost so many. We've spoken to countless over the last few months since this incident till now, trying to make sense of that day, losing loved ones, but losing their homes. It may have been a derelict building and an abandoned building, but for them it was home and a place of safety. And again, they've been displaced over and over right till now as well.
Speaking about the condition of the buildings, what has happened since Monday certainly doesn't absolve or detract from the responsibility that the city of Johannesburg has in this matter. And
this is the sentiments that we've heard from various of the advocacy groups that have been working with the fire victims, the Johannesburg Fire Support Group, the Marshalltown Fire Victims Group, saying that while this accused, the 29-year-old, may have lit the spark, the reason we saw that devastating deaths, the way that the fire spread, was also due to the derelict building that it was, the condition of it, the inhabitability of it, but also that the emergency services do not have enough capacity to deal with the fire as well. According to one of the social workers we spoke to, that the rules say that there should be about 120 fire engines that should be on site, and that day there was only 2 or 3 that was available in the city of Johannesburg. So it doesn't absolve the city of Johannesburg from their responsibility and their laws that they should have put into place. And we've seen fires right till this weekend happening in the city of Johannesburg as well.
I mean, the issue itself is core and key. It needs to be resolved. Quick one on what happens next.
So what we can expect is that the accused will appear on February the 1st. This is for the NPA to conclude its profiling as well as verification of his address at this date, and then, maybe a bail application. But since he has testified and given a confession, we might, see the process unfold in a different way as well.
Thank you so much. Our SABC News reporter, Hasina Gori, just bringing us the latest developments in this tragedy.